When Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire were released, we were introduced to many new Pokemon that had designs and typings that were at the time considered to be a bit different and out there. In Generation 1 and 2, most grass-type Pokemon were part poison or just pure grass, but then Generation 3 comes along and hits us with grass fighting, grass dark, another grass dark? And while Generation 3 gifted us with amazing designs like Metagross, Aggron, Flygon, and Salamence, there are other Generation 3 Pokemon that are hardly ever used and usually forgotten about for one reason or another. Now, Generation 3 were the first Pokemon games that I played, so of course I'm going to remember them fondly. And because of that, there's a lot of Pokemon in these games that I would like to talk about, but we're only going to do one per video. And today we're looking at Swalot, a Pokemon that's one of my favourite from Generation 3. So yes, this video is pretty much going to be my biased opinions, but that's pretty much what these videos are anyway. And maybe I can convince someone to use a Swalot and they'll end up liking it or something, I don't know. So let's talk about it. Swalot's a pure poison type that can be first found as a Gulpin on Route 110 just after you get to Slateport City. Upon catching this little green blob, you'll notice that one of the moves that you'll be using a lot is Sludge. Sludge is a physical attack in Generation 3 with a base power of 65, which is actually pretty good for the early sections of the game, especially when you take into account the same type attack bonus. So since all the poison attacks in Generation 3 are going to be physical, let's take a look at the stats that we're going to be working with. Swalot's stats are pretty balanced, but focus more on being a bit of a tank for a wide variety of different attacks. With base defensive stats of 83 and base 100 HP, you can be confident that Swalot will withstand a hit from most types of attacks. Although, I wouldn't be comfortable sending it out against a Psychic or a Ground-type Pokemon for obvious reasons. The attack stats aren't too great, but since the defense stats allow for the occasional hit here and there, it means that you can get in 1 or 2 good hits to knock out the opponent's Pokemon. Comparing the stats to other Pokemon, it's somewhat easy to see why people would skip over using a Swalot, but other Pokemon don't have this little mustache, so we're going to stick with it. Another important thing to consider is the ability that the Gulpin's going to have when you catch it. Gulpin and Swalot will have one of 2 abilities in Generation 3, Liquid Ooze or Sticky Hold. Sticky Hold makes it so that your held item can't be stolen by moves like Thief, but the main ability that I like to use is definitely Liquid Ooze, which makes the opponent lose the hit points that they would normally gain from health absorbing moves. So this ability is great if you think that the opponent is about to use Mega Drain or Giga Drain, especially if you're using this ability during the main story. If you ever come up against a grass type Pokemon, you can switch into Swalot and do some extra damage on them, which will then help you get the knockout with a super effective Sludge Bomb. So now that we know what Swalot's base stats look like, let's have a look at some of the moves that we could give it. For the main story of the game, you're probably going to be using a lot of the level up moves that Swalot learns, like Sludge, Yawn, and Body Slam. But let's not forget that since its physical and special attack stats are basically equal, you can teach it any move you like and not really worry too much about the physical or special nature of the attacks. Water Pulse, Shadow Ball, Giga Drain, these are all TMs that you can teach to Swalot to give it more move variety. It's completely up to you to decide if those types of moves are worth it on a Swalot, especially when you could just have a different Pokemon to use those attacks instead. But that goes against the point of the video. Yeah, I'm supposed to be praising this thing. Anyway, Water Pulse and Giga Drain can give Swalot some type coverage over ground-type Pokemon since their attacks will be super effective against our little mustache boy, and the same applies for Shadow Ball and Psychic-type Pokemon. And if you really can't wait for Sludge Bomb at level 48, the TM for it is at Dooford Town just after you get access to Surf. But that's something that I'd definitely advise against, since there's only one use of these TMs in these old games. If you wanted to be really on theme for the stomach Pokemon, you could take advantage of the Stockpile, Swallow, and Spit Up moves that you get access to at level 40. Stockpile will raise your defense and special defense stats to make you even bulkier so that it's even tougher to knock you out. And then, when your health gets low, you can use Swallow to recover some health, or Spit Up to throw all of your stockpiles up at the enemy to deal damage. Of course, you don't have to use all 3 of these moves. You could just use Stockpile for the defense buffs, and then for the damage and the healing, you could use Body Slam and Rest. Now, obviously I know that Swalot isn't going to be sweeping teams or anything like that, and damn, I don't even think it could really wall a full team. But this series isn't about proving that Pokemon are overpowered. This is about shining a bit of light on Pokemon that not many people think of when it comes to playing through these games. So quickly, how shall we utilize Swalot? I would recommend using it as a form of disruption on the team by taking advantage of the high HP and defensive stats to make a wall, along with its recovery moves and status infliction moves. You can gently prod at the other Pokemon while occasionally spamming Sludge Bomb for a decently large amount of damage. That's how I've always used it, and that yellow mustache has always done wonders for me, and it's never let me down. And that's why it's one of my favourite Generation 3 Pokemon, and you should all use it next time you have the chance. Hey, so this is the ending segment of the video where I just thank you all for watching and say that I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd also like to thank all of the people who commented on the previous videos saying that they'd like to see more content like this. Obviously there's only so many Pokemon that are surprisingly good. A lot of them are just straight up good, so any suggestions in the comments are welcome, and I might get around to making a video on them in the future. Also, apparently I'm supposed to ask you guys to subscribe or something like that, so you can do that if you'd like to. I mean, it'll make me feel great personally, and you get to see when the new videos get uploaded, so it's a win-win for both of us. And if you'd like to see any other videos in the underrated Pokemon series, the playlist is on screen right now. And that's all I've got for this video, so thanks for watching, guys.